Good evening, folks. My name is Sandeep Dio. I'm a program manager in Azure AD, and I own the devices scenarios in Azure Identity. Just a little bit about me. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife, and I have two kids, an 18-year-old who is a freshman, starting freshman at UC Davis, and I have a son who's 15 who is a sophomore. That's all about me. Let's get into the presentation. So before we get into the presentation, some key takeaways I want all of us to walk out of this session is understanding device identity in Azure AD. And it starts with, why should you care about bringing your devices in Azure AD? What are the different states that we support for these devices? And then getting into how do you actually join these devices in Azure AD. We'll do a little behind this, show you how it works all behind the scenes and things like that. The next thing we have on the agenda is to get to know what's new. We want to introduce you to the new features, new capabilities that we've added this year, and are sort of in public preview or will go in public preview shortly. And then the last thing we want to really cover is to sort of a sneak peek into what's sort of on our roadmap. With that, let's get into. OK. Is everybody able to see the screen? Or is it still the old one? OK. Bringing devices into Azure AD. So before I get into the value, I want to sort of give you guys some stats on how we are doing overall with device growth. We are seeing tremendous growth in devices over the last year. If you look at the numbers here, they speak for themselves. Total devices are right now at 107 million plus. Huge growth. We've seen over 275% increase over last year. The key number there is also the monthly active devices, which is also over 40 million. That shows the attach rate with all the devices that are being registered in Azure AD. And also look at the tenants. There are like 2.6 million plus Azure tenants that are actually having one or more devices registered with Azure AD. And the last one, which is a key one, which is sort of core to our strategy, and it will also be very important for you folks when you start looking at your zero trust network strategy, which is around conditional access. Just the device-based conditional access has grown more than 500% since last year. We are right now at over 6 million devices that have been enabled with conditional access. So that sort of gives you, the overall picture of how we are doing in terms of getting devices in Azure AD. Now the question is, why should you bring devices in Azure AD? Just like user identities, it is becoming increasingly important to consider device as an identity, because there are a lot of people who access from different devices, from remote locations, and they're accessing your key corporate resources, and you want to make sure that those resources are secured against any malicious use. So one of the things, like if you look at the value we say we bring with getting devices in Azure AD, it's across these three pillars. One is around access control and identity protection. This is where you get to leverage things like conditional access, also things like our Azure Identity Protection. So if you're a premium Azure AD customer with P2 license, you get the capabilities of identity protection, which then gives you all the goodness from our machine learning that we have in the cloud, and we'll talk a bit about that. Then in terms of ease of deployment and management, if you're on Windows 10, we highly, highly encourage you to start using the new modern way of managing Windows. Things like using autopilot, using bulk provisioning, using self-service deployment. Those are sort of the means in which how you can reduce cost of managing Windows in your environment. Then there are also things around managing these devices once they have been deployed. And the best alternative we have here is with our unified endpoint management platform in the form of Intune. And we also have certain capabilities in our Azure AD portal to help you manage device identities, things like being able to manage the life cycle, see which devices you need to disable, delete, and so forth. Then the last one, which is a core pillar and a core promise of the division per se, which is how do we ensure our users have seamless, secure, and productive access to the resources. We want to make sure your users are highly productive. At the end of the day, we want to make sure they get everything they can, but still keeping the security of your resources and ensuring that the access that the users get to these resources is seamless. So again, the way we do that is by having a single sign-on, so that if you have a device that is registered with Azure AD, you can enjoy the benefits of single sign-on across both your cloud resources as well as your on-premises resources. Similarly, you guys have seen sessions from Alex, and we've been having additional sessions on the whole road for passwordless, where we talk about different options that our customers now have with passwordless, like using Windows Hello for Business, using Microsoft Authenticator app, or even using FIDO too. And we'll cover some of that later as well. And lastly, settings that roam across devices. Once you have device identity, then you can easily roam those across these devices. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but sort of gives you the value in terms of why you should care and why you should bring your devices in Azure AD. Just going into a little bit of access control and identity protection, right? Here we're trying to give you a picture of conditional access, where every user request that comes into Azure AD is intended to get access to a particular resource. And you have all these different conditions that get evaluated by our conditional access engine around users, devices, location, apps. And then we have also the machine learning, the identity protection that feeds into it to give us sort of the risk signals for user sessions, device sessions, and so forth. And then you can also enable all these different controls, right, within the conditional access engine around allowing access, denying access to certain things, requiring MFA for additional security, enforcing like a password reset, and so on. And again, this feature or this capability works across both your cloud resources as well as your on-premises resources or applications. Similarly, on the AI, the advanced AI, again, this is the beauty you get with Azure and its cloud capabilities. We have this amazing machine learning algorithm that takes all of the requests that we get on a daily basis, billions of requests that we get that are all mined and checked for different attack vectors, and then we compute all these different signals. And again, since it's a machine learning, it's constantly learning, and that feeds into the conditional access engine to ensure that malicious users are kept out of the system. Going into the deployment and management, again, traditionally we've seen how Windows have been managed by our customers. If you look at pre-Win 10 days, the traditional deployment consisted of building a custom image, taking that image, and then deploying into each computers. And that process is not just complex, it's stale, it is expensive, it costs a lot of dollars to sort of manage a machine. And that is the reason we consider that to be the old way, and what we recommend our customers to really go and do is sort of follow our modern provisioning practices, modern deployment practices by using things like autopilot, self-service experience, which is as part of the UBI, as well as bulk provisioning. So that's sort of why you want to start considering bringing your devices into Azure AD. The next one I'm going to cover is to sort of show you how SS or single sign-on works. This is, again, with the promise around keeping seamless, secure, and productive experience for our users. A common misconception, and I've heard this from a lot of customers I talk to, which is, if I bring my device and join it to Azure AD, I'm going to lose access to my on-premise resources. And this flow will exactly show you that's not the case. Bringing device to Azure AD still maintains and gives you access to your on-prem resources as long as you still have line of sight with your domain controller or Active Directory. So in this flow, if you look at it, there's a user who's starting to do an Azure AD join. The first thing that happens as part of this process is a certificate and SDK, the storage, the session transport key is exchanged with Azure AD. Then the user, once the device is registered, the user is going to come in and provide their creds to sign in. The creds are then passed to our Cloud API, which is the Cloud Authentication plugin, which then sends that information to Azure AD, and along with the cert and the SDK that it received as part of the Azure AD join process. Now, again, all of this information about the cert and the SDK is stored in the TPM, so it is protected as part of the trusted platform module. Then once you get the AD gets this information, it then generates what we call a PRT, primary refresh token. That is the artifact that helps the client to then enjoy or leverage the single sign-on capabilities for cloud resources. Once you have the PRT, Then now that PRT is accessible to what we call as the web account manager, which is sort of the broker application for all the rich clients that need access to cloud resources. So let's take an example. In this case, I have an Office app which needs a token to get access to a resource in the cloud. It's going to talk to the web account manager. The web account manager is going to then take the PRT, talk to Azure AD, get back the token, send back the token to the app, and then the app is going to use that token to talk to the resource. Now, the same thing, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, that same model had existed in the on-premises world for decades, or more than a decade, right? In that model, it was the Kerberos plugin that did all of this orchestration. The same thing happens here. When the first time the creds come in, and you're authenticated against Azure AD, what we get back is like the SAML account name, the BIOS, and the DNS. That is then passed to the Kerb AP to get the Kerb TGT. And that is the magic that unlocks access to on-premises resources. So again, a device that is Azure AD joined will have access to your on-premises resources as long as it has line of sight with the domain controller. And this chart basically shows that. The next one, in terms of the value prop, was our seamless, secure, and productive experience, which is around the whole passwordless journey. And we started this journey with Windows Hello, and as you can see with the numbers, again, we are also seeing a good uptake with adoption for Windows Hello. We have at least more than 50 million Windows Hello users right now, and around 5,600 plus enterprises who have deployed Windows Hello for Business. Again, it's been out there for a while now. Again, we encourage strongly to go start using Windows Hello for Business. And we'll cover some of it as part of our later slides in terms of our other options that we are enabling for passwordless. So that was some of the value prop. Now let's get into sort of understanding the device identity, meaning what are the different states we have in Azure AD. The first thing we start off is with Azure AD join, a very simple path here, which is the device has a sole trust that is established and built with Azure AD. It is not joined to your on-premises AD. It is joined to your Azure AD tenant. And that state is referred as Azure AD joined. The next one is the one which is typically we find in most customer environments where you have devices that have been already joined to your on-premises AD. So that there is already a soul of trust established with your on-premises AD. But in this model, in parallel, you're also establishing a trust with Azure AD. And that is what we refer as hybrid Azure AD join. So your primary authority is your on-premises DC. But you have this secondary trust also established with Azure AD. And then the third one, which is typically meant for your BYOD or your personal devices, which is if you have a non-Windows device like an iOS or an Android, or even if you have a Windows personal device that you want to not do a Azure AD join or a hybrid because it's not part of your corporate domain, then the third state is what we refer as the Azure AD registered state. And the way we establish trust in each of these models, it's sort of in two categories, right? One is, as I mentioned, is your work-owned devices where you either have an Azure AD or an hybrid Azure AD. But you can also have Azure AD registered. So think of a case where you have a personal device and your company wants you to enroll it into an MDM authority in order for you to have access to your corporate resources from that device. In that case, that device will be Azure AD registered with MDM. And the way we would establish trust for these devices is by, so in the case of hybrid Azure AD join, it is just by the virtue of it being joined to your Active Directory. So because you get to manage that device, you have full control on that device, you trust that device. And on the other side, for the Azure AD join and the Azure AD registered with MDM, the trust is established by Intune compliance policies. So Intune is able to evaluate compliance on an ongoing basis for these devices, and based on that, you can trust the fact that knowing that a device is compliant, it meets your corporate standards for it to have access to your resources. So that's sort of the idea. In terms of the personal devices, similar thing. You have two sort of flavors there, where you have either Azure AD registered with MDM, again, if the company enforces you for MDM enrollment, or if the MDM enrollment is optional, you have the option to enroll into MAM, Mobile Application Management, which then allows you to pick certain first-party applications that we support today to then control whether they can have access or not to your resources, depending on if they're compliant or not. Again, the evaluation for those devices is also through Intune compliance policies. So that was about joining devices. A quick look at how to do Azure AD join on a Windows device. Again, Azure AD join applies only to Windows 10. And the way we support that today is there are 3 ways in which you can do it. So first one was your straight out of the box experience, where you log in with your Azure AD tenant, and then you basically get the device to do Azure AD join. And if your tenant has configured for MDM enrollment will be part of that whole Azure AD join process, which we call as sort of the unified enrollment. The next one is sort of if you want to do it after the fact. So let's say you've got a machine, you've signed into it with your local admin account, and now you want to Azure AD join that device. The way you do it is you go into basically, you log in as an admin, you go into the settings, go into the add school or work account, and then basically select this option that's highlighted in red, which is join device to Azure Active Directory. And then the third one is by join with a provisioning package. And this is typically done for school devices where the administrator creates a provisioning package, and that is used with a USB to sort of provision a device and join it to Azure AD. Just looking at how Azure AD join works behind the scenes, again, the concept here is you're syncing your users and your Active Directory domain info to your tenant. So from on-prem to that, and you're using Azure AD Connect for that. So as soon as the user authenticates with Azure, the next thing that you're going to see is the device is going to authenticate against Azure ADRS, which is the Active Directory registration, Azure Active Directory registration service. And that is the service which is going to take the user credential and take the device certificate, and then basically send a certificate with the actual thumbprint, and this is basically the details, which is, it obtains a certificate that's called the MS Organization Access, and it then writes that into the alternate security IDs attribute of the device object in Azure AD. And basically, earlier we explained the flow of how you can then take that information and send it to AD to get your curb TGT, and then start getting access to your on-premises resources. Just a few things in terms of considerations when you decide to do Azure AD join. The supported scenarios are definitely, you get SSO across both on-premises as well as cloud applications. You get to leverage conditional access if you have Azure AD P1 license. You also get to, again, if you want to enable conditional access for on-premise resources, you need to enable device write-back, which is the one that will give you the is-compliant information about the device. You also can enjoy self-service password reset. And for that, you require either password hash sync, or you need password write-back, password hash sync with password write-back, or pass-through authentication enabled, which is sort of the new way of doing cloud-based authentication. And then you also enjoy capabilities like Windows Hello for Business, FIDO 2 secure keys. These are all possible if you get a device to sort of do Azure AD join. Again, not an exhaustive list, but calling out some of the key scenarios, core capabilities that you can enjoy once you have an Azure AD device. In terms of supported device, it is supported on Windows 10. On Windows Server 29 VMs, I will cover that in a bit. That is something that we are working towards, and we will soon be announcing, or not soon, but we'll have a public preview that we plan to sort of enable later this year. But I'll get into the details of that capability in a bit. In terms of the supported environments, we're talking about all applicable configurations. So it also works if you're using a third-party IDP. But the third-party IDP would need to support both WS Fed and WS Trust. And in terms of just the things to know, right? We always want to make sure customers, when they decide to take their devices to Azure AD, they're also aware of some of the caveats that we're constantly working to address some of the gaps, if you will. But the things that one should know is, once you start moving from your on-premises management platform like SCCM or any other, and you want to move to an MDM platform like Intune, you want to also evaluate your group policy objects that you have been using in the past as to whether you have a parity or whether they are supported in the new MDM CSP or the configuration service provider model. So we have a tool for that called MDM Migration Analysis Tool. There's a link in the deck, but you can go to that tool, and you can run an evaluation in your environment for all the GPUs that you care about to see if there's a corresponding MDM CSP support in our platform or not. Then the other caveat is around printer discovery. We know today you cannot, if you're Azure AD joint device, you cannot discover a printer. However, you can provide a printer path, or you can also use Intune to deploy like scripts that basically enable the printer path on devices. Or you can also use cloud hybrid print setup to sort of overcome that limitation. But again, this is another area that we are working towards to improve. And hopefully, next year we'll have a better story around the whole printer discovery area. Then if you're using RDP, which also we'll cover when we do the Windows 10 VM demo, the Windows Server 2019 demo. For that, if you're trying to RDP into an Azure AD joint device, the client has to be either an Azure AD joint or a hybrid Azure AD joint device. If the client is a non-Windows, or if the client is not any of those two states, it won't be able to RDP into an Azure AD joint device. So that is another thing you guys should know. In terms of legacy Win32 apps, we support those apps if they use NTLM, Modern Auth, or Kerberos, but we don't support if they are using machine authentication. So that's something you also need to remember. Again, we don't expect that to be a very common scenario, but if you have an application that is using machine authentication, work on a strategy to sort of migrate it towards like a Modern Auth or a Kerb or an NTLM type of authentication. And the last one is the local file sharing, which is again an area we're trying to work through, is not supported in the Azure AD join scenario. Now moving on to the next one, which is the second state, which we talked about, was the hybrid Azure AD join. Now, how do you do that? In the past, we've heard customers, our documentation honestly was not great. We had a lot of manual steps that our customers or admins had to go through, and it was prone to error. So we heard that feedback, and now we have solved this with the new version of Azure AD Connect. So if you have a version that is higher than, I think, 819.0, which we released in May, now the problem is solved, because what that the version or what that application lets you do is it has a wizard to go help you configure the hybrid Azure AD join. And essentially what it does is it creates a service connection point, which is the one that is needed for the tenant ID and the name discovery that is used during the registration process. So again, something we would highly recommend. Get on the latest version of AD Connect and start leveraging this if you haven't hybrid Azure AD joined your devices yet, because this simplifies the process a great deal. And we've also revamped the documentation, so you can go and take a look at all of that. And that's simplified now, depending on your scenario, whether you're in a federated environment using ADFS or any other third-party IDP, or if you're using a managed environment like using password hash sync or pass-through authentication. So that is something to note there. Again, in terms of the way we showed you the Azure AD, here's a quick sort of a flow that shows you how hybrid Azure AD join works. This is really fired by a scheduled task, and that gets fired every time either you restart the machine or a user signs in. And that task runs every hour, and if for some reason it's not able to do the hybrid Azure AD join in a day, it's going to stop, and it's going to stop till you restart the device. So what happens is, as soon as the task is fired, a self-signed certificate credential and the public part, it's placed in the user certificate attribute of the computer object in AD. And I think this is the key trigger that then allows Azure AD Connect to sync the computer object into Azure AD at its sync cadence. So I think typically the default cadence is 30 minutes. So if you have it at that, your computer objects on-prem, once they have this self-signed cert, are going to be synced with Azure AD. And that helps a great deal in finishing the hybrid Azure AD join process. So for example, let's say if you're in a federated environment, in the past, we had scenarios where, and this was prior to 1803 OS version, where if the ADFS path to do the hybrid Azure AD join failed, the device would never register. And customers would call, and there would be support cases as to why is my device not registering. And it turns out, they've forgotten to either configure a necessary claim, or the SCP wasn't configured correctly, and all of these issues. So again, if you're not picky about an instant join through ADFS, rely on the sync join, which is at the worst case, after 30 minutes, your devices will show up in Azure AD, and those will be registered. So even if you're using a third-party IDP or ADFS, and you're not wanting to set up the device registration claims, that's OK. If you still want to for instant join, Azure AD Connect will help you, because it does all of the things around configuring the ADFS claims that are needed without you having to do anything, and it also backs up any relying party trust data that you may already have. So don't fear using Azure AD Connect to also configure your ADFS. Once that information is synced, then the next thing that's going to happen is the device, when basically user signs in, it's going to go talk to AD to get the SCP information. And as soon as it gets it, it's going to talk to the Azure AD, similar to the Azure AD join process, sending the information about the user certificate attribute and the CSR for then the Azure Active Directory device registration service to sign it and send a certificate, which gets then stamped back onto the device. This is basically what creates and builds the trust and makes sure that this device is a trusted device in Azure AD. Again, join is instantaneous in using ADFS, but for some reasons, let's say you hadn't configured the claims properly, starting 1803, we do a fallback using sync join. So even if, for some reasons, your ADFS registration through ADFS wasn't working, it will go through in 30 minutes or later, depending on your sync schedule, after the computer object has been synced to the Azure AD as a device object. Similar to the Azure AD join, we would have we'd like to give you guys insights into the considerations for hybrid Azure AD join. Again, from a supported scenario standpoint, not much different than what we had for Azure AD join, except for the FIDO 2 keys, which is, again, something we are working to support in a hybrid join scenario next year. But other than that, everything else that you saw for Azure AD join, it's also supported for hybrid Azure AD join. In terms of supported devices, this works on both Windows current, like Windows 10, as well as Windows Server 2016. And it also works on Windows down level, which includes Windows 7, 8.1, your 2012 R2, 2012, and 2008 R2, all of the legacy operating systems. Except for the legacy operating systems, you need to install a workplace join client, which is an MSI, which will then trigger the device registration. Whereas in Windows 10, it is all automatic once you have all the configurations like the SCP in place. In terms of the supported environments, again, if you're a federated domain using ADFS, we require you to configure SCP and ADFS claim rules. Again, as I mentioned, if you forget or do it incorrectly, the sync join will still take care of joining your device as long as you're on 1803 and beyond. A key thing to note here is if you're on a Windows 7 or a legacy Windows 8 or any down-level device, and if you're using managed domains where you're using PTA or PHS, make sure that you have seamless SSO enabled. Because if it is not, the device registration will fail. And the reason being Windows 7, it works silently, so it requires a non-interactive way to register. So if you don't have seamless SSO enabled, it will try to prompt, and the whole registration will not work. So something very, very important to note. And then if you're using a third party, again, similar to the Azure AD, they have to support WS-Fed and WS Trust protocols. A couple of things to know. Again, we don't see this as a typical configuration, but if for some reason you have single forest, but you have multiple tenants, so a single forest that's syncing to multiple tenants in Azure AD, right now we don't have an official way to support configuring SCP for each of those domains, because right now the configuration is one SCP for one forest. So if you have a forest with multiple, syncing to multiple tenants, please talk to me later and let's see what we can do about it. If you're using sysprep or if you're using a VM snapshot, make sure that when you create those, you're creating those from fresh images and not images or devices that are already hybrid Azure AD joined. Because if you do that, then if you spawn more images like use sysprep, or if you do VM images from that, that state will be preserved and the new devices won't do hybrid Azure AD join. So something again is getting fixed in the new release of Windows 10, but something for you to consider if you are using sysprep or VM images or VHDs for creating those snapshots. In terms of down level, if you're using, I believe, the user profile roaming or credential roaming, again, you won't be able to do the hybrid join on the other device, because again, it will carry the state. And because the device registration in down level is based on user context, we will preserve that state and consider that the device has already hybrid Azure AD joined, so we won't do it. So again, Windows 10, not a problem, because in Windows 10, the registration happens in the device context. But in Windows 7 or any other down level, if you're using that scenario, then it won't work on the new devices where you roam those profiles. If you're using an outbound authentication proxy, again, because Windows 10 runs under the device context or the machine context, make sure that that device or machine is allowed to authenticate and reach the registration endpoints. If it's just the user authentication allowed, then again, that device won't be able to communicate with our endpoints and the registration will fail. So something to, again, keep in mind. And again, not I think, a scenario per se, but we're just still calling it out that if you're running, if you want to join your domain controller, it's not supported. I think this is just a recap. I'll see if there's anything key to call out here. So the key here, thing to call out here is really about the management part, right? Because with hybrid Azure AD join, typically your management platform is something like System Center Configuration Manager or a third party, but it's something which is targeted towards classic desktop management. And if you're talking about Azure AD join, we talk about modern management using MDM providers like Intune and other third parties. But a key thing to note here is if you have a scenario where you want to take your domain join, hybrid Azure AD join device, and you want to push or manage some of the policies that you want to push to those devices using MDM, we have a channel to do that using our strategy, which is called co-management, where a device is enrolled in both. It has a SCCM client on it, by which you can still continue to push policies using your current existing infrastructure. But it is also enrolled into MDM, which allows, or Intune, which allows you to push certain policies using Intune's MDM CSP. The key thing to make sure there is that you don't have the same workload being managed by both SCCM and Intune, otherwise you'll run into conflicts. But if you have certain policies that are lightweight and you feel like it's easy for you to manage using Intune, you have the option to do that. And vice versa, you also have the option to do that on an Azure AD join device. Because when you have an Azure AD join device, it is enrolled into MDM, and if you have a need to deploy certain things on that device using your classic infrastructure or using SCCM, you have a way to deploy the SCCM client onto that device using Intune. And once you have that, now the device is in this co-managed state where it has both SCCM client as well as the MDM client and can be managed using both the platforms. So that was sort of something about the first bullet of the key takeaway, which is why devices in Azure AD, starting with the value prop, showing you the different, the states, and also showing you how you can actually join those devices. Now let's talk about something that, what's new that we've added this year, right? And again, most of the investments are all, again, across the same 3 pillars that you saw, which was access control and identity protection, ease of use and for deployment and management, and then the seamless, secure, and end user, productive end user experience. So in what's new, I'm starting with the access control and identity protection. We are making huge investments in the area of zero trust network. Again, the premises here is you can't go with the old perimeter-based trust. We have seen that it doesn't work. With zero trust network, the whole notion here is we are pivoting a whole lot on device. And we have done a lot of work with other teams within Microsoft, like Windows Defender ATP. We've done work with Intune, our own Azure AD conditional access team, devices team, to sort of bring all of this together and enable our customers to really start leveraging and planning for a zero trust network strategy. So here in this, and I'm going to show you a demo as well. Here we are talking about, in this flow, you have a Windows 10 device. There is a component called System Guard Runtime Attestation, which is checking for the device integrity, right? It's constantly getting signals from the device, and it's checking for the integrity of the device. And then basically what it does is it generates a report containing the security score. And it has different, so for each of those different areas, like whether the secure boot is enabled, whether your, is there any malware, or is there, there are a bunch of knobs that they look at to really determine whether you have the right security level on the device or not. And that report then gets uploaded to Windows Defender ATP, which along with all of the other signals that it also gets through its cloud protection, is able to then take and compute what we call as a machine risk level. So you can think of a machine going from a clear state to a low risk, to a medium risk, or a high risk. And then that information is then fed into Intune for each and every device that is onboarded. So think of Intune now receiving signals from Defender ATP, which were all fired from this system guard that's running on the device and always looking for different signals and activity. And that information is then sent from Intune to, that information is then used by Intune to evaluate compliance. And then that information is then sent by Intune to Azure AD. So when a user now requests access to Azure AD, it's trying to get an access token to access a resource in the cloud, the conditional access engine is going to kick in and say, hey, does this user even have access to this resource? And it's going to look at the compliance and say, is this device compliant? And based on the policy that you have set in your Intune console, it will then decide, should the device at this particular risk level state, should it get access or not? And then based on the risk level and the compliance, in this case, this example is showing that the device was compliant, and which is why it got access to the resource that the user was requesting for. Now, the other scenario is the same thing. You go, now the device is compromised. There's a malware, or there's something that's taken over, and the device is now basically emitting signals that is saying it's risky. In that case, the same set of reports go back to ATP. ATP is now saying the machine went from clear to now suddenly it's either medium or high risk. It evaluates the machine to be risky. It lets Intune know. Intune sets the compliance state based on the risk level and says, hey, the device is non-compliant. Now, the same user on a different device, or a different user on this compromised device, comes and tries to access resource, it's going to get denied. The conditional access is going to say, your device is not compliant. I'm not going to give you the access token. And there you go. So I'm going to quickly show you this in action. Again, I hope the demo gods work with me today. I'm going to do something that I was going to do later, but let me. Okay, I signed in already. Don't ask me how, but I'll show that later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go start with first, I go to portal, the Azure portal, and I'm going to sign in. So we're going to look at a few things right now. First, let's go take a look at what is the conditional access policy for this organization. This is a demo tenant. I'm going to go into conditional access. And I have a policy for Office Apps CA. And the policies right now has two conditions that are selected, which is include client apps like browser as well as mobile apps and desktop. And if they're accessing any of these, it also includes Exchange. So right now we are in this browser. That's why this policy will get kicked. And then the control that is enabled is we require the device to be marked as compliant, right? And the policy is enabled. Now let's go take a look at Intune in terms of understanding what does Intune have as part of the device compliance policies. So I have a policy that says firewall and ATP device risk. I'm going to go take a look at the properties to see what has the admin set. You can see there are two settings that are configured here. One is checking for that the firewall is required, that it's not turned off. And then the other thing it has also done is it has actually set a policy for Windows Defender ATP risk score. So it is saying that for the device to be evaluated as compliant, we require the device to be under the risk score of low or below, right? So anything higher than low, like if the device comes with medium or high, it is going to be not granted access. Now let's quickly also take a look. I have two devices. Let me show you here. I have two devices, ZTN client 1 and 2. And I'm going to quickly take a look at oh, sorry. I don't know where I'm at. Security is. OK. So I'm going to look at all the machines. And as I showed you, I have ZTN client, which says it has a risk level high. So it looks like there is already a machine that has been compromised. And it seems like there is, I don't know who did this, but there is a Mikatazi malware install on this particular machine. So Defender has already caught that. And it is saying that this machine is now vulnerable and has given a risk score or risk level as high. And let's take a look at the other device. And ZTN client 2 seems to be OK. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each of these clients and see what is the experience I get. Don't ask me why there's big names, but I need to enter all of that. We expect this device. Come on, what's happening? Azure AD, ZTN demo on Microsoft.com. Let me try once more, guys. Sorry about that. Azure AD. Oh, sorry, I'm using a wrong one. Test one. Dot. At ztndemo dot on micros. I won't read the password. See, my wife told me to get my specs along with me, but I forgot. So now I know why. OK, finally. Oh, it does. So I'm going to, just to make sure so you don't think this was cached, I'm going to try and get access to a OneDrive document. See, how many passwords do I have to type? That's the part that. OK, see? So this device is basically prevented from accessing that particular OneDrive location. So ZTN1 works as it expected. Now let's look at ZTN2. Just add ZTN. Come on. OK. OneDrive. I wish there was a way to save all of this. There you go. I have access to the HBI doc from this station. So I think this worked. So basically, again, using this whole zero trust network, the model that we have and the current capabilities that we support, you can start to now leverage the capabilities across Defender ATP, conditional access, Intune, and devices to sort of get what I just showed you and prevent access to your resources from any malicious device. The next thing, in terms of seamless, secure, and productive experience, you've already heard announcements. We've done a lot of work. Last year, we had announced support of Microsoft Authenticator for MSA. Now we have going in public preview for supporting Authenticator with Azure AD. Again, similar concept like Hello, works with the same public-private key exchange paradigm. It supports two-factor authentication. Because phone is what you possess, and then your Face ID or your fingerprint becomes, or your passcode becomes the second form of identification. FIDO 2, again, it's a consortium, Microsoft, Google, bunch of FIDO key providers, a bunch of other companies are participating in that. It's now getting officially drafted. I believe it's already a standard, and again, our efforts towards that, we are ensuring we're working with other vendors to make sure our solution is it does interop with all of the providers and all of the cross platforms that are out there. What we had in private preview was FIDO 2 for Azure AD join, so that you can access cloud resources. What we are working towards is for that same device to also have access to on-premise resources, which is the work that it will be lighting up soon. Again, you have seen some of this, but I'll quickly show you, the FIDO. I think I already showed you FIDO, but in case you missed it, I have a key here, like a FIDO key here. I'm just going to insert that. And as soon as I insert it, it's going to ask me to to take action, I'm just going to put my fingerprint here, and voila, it just unlocks me. So that's basically, although it seems like you got signed in less than a second, but the work it's taken for the team to really light this up has taken more than a year or even years. So sometimes the demo doesn't really speak for the effort that's gone into enabling this, but that's FIDO for you. And in terms of the Authenticator app, let me show you a quick demo on that. So I have this phone. Oh, it already signed me in, so let me. I have a phone that's registered with the, I have the Microsoft Authenticator app, and it's registered on the tenant, my device, so which is why I should be able to I'm going to use my corp account. And what it will do is, it sent me, I see 18, and I see 18 over here. I'm going to press that, use my Face ID, and hopefully it will sign me in. Perfect. So again, this is a great scenario. If you're on a shared device, or if you're in a public space, you want to get access to something, but you don't want to enter your password. If you have Microsoft Authenticator app, it will help you sign in and get access to it. So again, something we highly recommend as part of the passwordless journey, deploy Windows Hello, get Microsoft Authenticator app, and start also leveraging FIDO 2 as soon as it's in public preview. So the next thing, so how many of you guys know that we've already launched the ability to use Linux VMs in Azure using your Azure AD creds? Just a few, OK. So we already have that in public preview, guys. Please start using it if you're using Linux VMs in Azure, because we've heard that those are very popular ones. What we have really enabled is the ability to use, again, Azure AD credentials. So you don't need to use your local admin accounts. You don't need to worry about managing the accounts, the credential lifecycle management. The beauty you get with this is you don't have to worry about weak passwords or passwords being stolen, because again, you're preventing the use of local accounts totally, right? And then you get the same benefits because you're using Azure AD to sign in. You're leveraging all of the password complexity and lifetime that you get with, or that you've configured on your Azure AD tenant. And the key thing is, let's say your employees, leave the that's coming in the RBAC, but it also works for the federation services. So if you're using ADFS, it will also continue to work with that environment as well. And it also, not only it provides improved security, but we have also focused on the seamless collaboration. So we're using role-based access control, again, as the layer to really give you the permission as to who should sign into these VMs and in what roles. Should they be administrators, or should they be just regular users? And the good part about this is, with RBAC, it's easy for you to manage when users leave or join the team, right? Rather than having to go scrub all your VMs and manage all those public SSH keys when we talk about Linux, right? You don't have to worry about that in the Windows environment. And also, when employees leave the organization, as soon as their account is disabled, they will lose access to these VMs, right? So again, good part where you don't have to worry about having to manage all of this and having to work with all these local admin accounts that you may be handing off to your users. So something really, so this was announced, the Linux thing, I think public preview was announced something in March or May, I forget the exact time frame, but it will go GA sometime later this year. And what we did for Linux, we're also bringing that same capability for Windows, except it's going to work with Windows Server 2019 and with Windows 10 client, which is the next release that will be coming in fall. So I believe it's 1809 or whatever the version we decide to call it. So again, this capability, similar to Linux, will also be available. And I will show you something quick in action, because we already have that working today and should be in public preview later this year. So I'm going to go to my okay, so I'll go into my virtual machines. As long as there's good connectivity on this, I should, okay, I'll get the Linux VM. And it's very easy to create, so I'll walk you through that in a minute, but I already have one created here. So if you just go through the regular Azure portal create experience, you can easily create a secure Linux VM. So what this does is I'm opening this in the Azure CLI interface, Cloud Shell. What it does is it will give me a code that I will then need to enter on the Microsoft.com device login page to sort of do the device authentication. And then it will unlock me. So I'll go paste this. OK, so I got this code. And it tells me to use that code on Microsoft.com/device login. The page opens. OK. I'll paste that code. Yeah, because I have not set the OK, so it signed me in. See, there you go. It signed me in. See, I'm already signed in with my corp credentials. There you go. So Linux is all good. This is in public preview, should be GA sometime later this year. I'm going to quickly also show you Windows. So I've created a Windows VM. I've taken one of the latest images we have for the Windows Server 2019 Data Center Edition. And I hope it gets me in. There you go. So this is my Windows VM that I've created in Azure, and I'm signing it with the Azure AD credentials that you saw earlier. Again, if you go look at here, I can actually go to the home. I can go to virtual. I can show you the access, how I've configured the RBAC here, and which is why it allowed me to log in. So if I don't need this anymore. If I go to my VM demo, if I look at the access control, you'll see the roles, and I've added myself as the admin. You can decide, adding people as either virtual administrator, virtual user, or as an administrator. So you see, I'm here as both a machine user as well as a machine administrator. Those are the two roles that we will support with this capability. So again, something we highly recommend our customers to, as they start creating and have their VMs in Azure, to secure them using Azure AD integration. And the way you do that is by enabling this capability. And again, if you go to, for Linux, if you go to the create experience in Azure portal today, as on the very first task or as part of the flow, you will see an option under the local accounts. There's I believe there's a radio button to enable log on using Azure AD. It's by default off. You can enable it, and that will get you this capability going. In terms of ease of deployment and management, so we have taken, one of our goals, the whole division goals, is to ensure we drive down the supportability costs. And what we are also doing that is we want to make sure not only we are receiving less support volumes, but we also want to make sure your end users are able to self-service their issues. So we are making some improvements in our troubleshooting for hybrid Azure AD join scenarios. How many of you know DS-Reg CMD status? Okay, very few. So we have DS-Reg CMD. It's an exe on the system. It is the one that actually triggers the whole device registration flow. And today, if you go type in DS-Reg CMD/status, you get all the information about the device state, the user state. You can see if the device has the PRT or not. You can see if the device has joined Azure AD or not. You get all of that information. We are enhancing that information to really provide additional details in terms of if the hybrid Azure AD join fails, we want to tell you what step did it fail. Because if you recall, there are a couple of things that need to happen for hybrid Azure AD join to succeed. You need to have SCP configured. You need to have all the registration endpoints be allowed from your environment. If you're using outbound proxy, you need to make sure your machine authentication is supported. So all of these will be caught as part of this DS-Reg CMD status that we will be releasing in our next OS, which is, I believe, 1809. That's where you will be able to see things like which step it failed, what error code is it generating, and there'll be also a link that points you to a page that has a message or that will provide description about the error code and any mitigation that you can take. And it also has correlation ID, which is an ID that is generated by our backend service. So in case you run into any issues and you want to open a support case, the best way to do with the support case would be then to also attach or let us know the correlation ID, because that will help the team help with the issue in a much faster pace. The other thing we have done also is, how many of you have issues with a lot of devices showing in Azure AD and you're not sure how you want to manage the device lifecycle? Okay, so I think I have some good news for you. What we have done is we have added something called as approximate logon timestamp, which is, I think it's, the freshness is up to 14 days. So if a device has been actively used, if there was a sign-in event, or if there was some request that came in for an access token or something, the device will update the approximate logon timestamp. So one of the things we are doing is, we are basically, in our current public preview, we are going to give you a PowerShell script that allows you to filter devices. So you could set rules. We are also publishing a doc to give best practices and guidance on how you should manage these devices. But think of a case where if you have devices that are 90 days old and they haven't shown up or they haven't been logging in or active in the system, you can then decide to disable the device. You don't have to delete the device right away, but you can at least disable the device to start managing it or to start managing the life cycle. And if you don't hear from your users in 90 days and an additional 30 days or so, you can then decide safely to go ahead and delete the device, right? Because deleting a device then also has, if the user is really on vacation and wants to come back and start using it, they have to go re-register. So you have to take those thresholds into account and then decide what works for your business. But again, that timestamp is something that's going to help you take care of the device life cycle. I had a demo for that, but I know I'm running out of time, and I have a couple of more slides to cover, so I'm going to skip that. But again, a very simple and easy one. There is a logon time after, which is a filter, or logon time before. And I think you can use that filter with a date to then filter all the devices that are older than a certain approximate logon timestamp. So we talked about what's new. And now I wanted to sort of give you a sneak peek into what's something that we have on our roadmap. What are the next set of investments we have around devices? So when it comes to access control and identity protection, there are a couple of things that we want to be able to deliver next year in calendar year 19. One is device groups-based CA. So we hear from customers, and there are real core scenarios around how do I protect some key sensitive assets or resources in my organization. I want to be able to create a device group of only certain devices that I'm assured of, that they are highly secured, they're highly attested. Think of your scenarios with POS or devices, where if you want to give access from a device to an Azure resource like a global admin, you want to ensure that that device is not only low risk, but it is a highly trusted device. Think of device groups coming into play with that sort of a scenario, where in conditional access now you can say, I want to create a device group and apply additional policies based on for those devices. Device-based conditional access for B2B. How many of you are using B2B today? Nice. So one of the feedback we have and we know is if you have, let's say, so you're the resource organization, you have invited a guest tenant or a guest user from the home organization, and they've already registered their device in their tenant. They've already MFA'd in their tenant, and it's a highly trusted partner. And you want to trust those assertions when they come and try and access resource on your tenant. So one of the things we want to really go and empower you is to allow you to enable who do you want to trust and what assertions do you want to trust from the home organization. So that's sort of the device-based CA for B2B. And device risk, we talked about it. Today, it is sort of part of the compliance evaluation, but we want to even take it further to give you fine-grained access to your resources based on device risk. So think of a scenario where you're giving access to a online PowerPoint document, and if the device risk is low, you're OK with the person downloading the document, sharing the document, and things like that. But if the device risk is medium, you want to block the document from being shared or from being downloaded to the user's device. But you still want the user to be productive and have them work on the document online. So those kind of scenarios will be more about fine-grained conditional access, but taking device risk into consideration. And then in terms of ease of deployment and management, we have local account password solution, LAPS. How many of you know of LAPS? OK, quite a few. OK. So this is something we want to ensure that if an Azure AD joined device is having connectivity issues, or there's a help desk scenario, or there's a genuine scenario for that user to be an admin on the device to install certain software, we need a way for the admin to, or the user, to basically be able to recover the local account password. So that's a capability we want to also bring in. That's one of the key asks for our Azure AD scenario, Azure AD join scenario. Then group-based management is on similar lines, where giving the ability for the admin to decide who should be the admins or which user should be added to the administrator group when they join the device. And this is something we'll be working closely with our partners in Intune. To sort of enable that scenario. And then cloud-registered printers, right? Having the ability to register printers with the cloud service. And lastly, on the seamless, secure, and productive experience, we are looking at enabling, as I said, FIDO for on-prem. So if you have an Azure AD joined device and you're already using FIDO, but you want to access on-prem resources, we want to enable that as well. And some of the management capabilities are on FIDO, right? To really help with the adoption, we want to make sure we give you ability to delegate who should provision FIDO keys, even allow self-provisioning if users are going to go buy FIDO keys on their own, as long as they're trusted, as long as they're from an approved vendor. We want to give you the ability to do some sort of enable self-service provisioning. And lastly, FIDO for hybrid Azure AD joined devices. So our current strategy is focused around shared scenarios, first-line workers, where we expect those devices to be Azure AD joined. But we also want to make sure for devices that are hybrid Azure AD joined, and if there's a need to enable FIDO authentication for those devices, we support that scenario as well. So that's sort of what's on our roadmap. I have a couple more slides. I want to sort of close with some of the guidance that we have as a company in terms of devices. Again, we want to enforce or focus on Azure AD join whenever practical. So please think about that as a scenario as much as you can. Again, if it is a hybrid Azure AD joined device, then absolutely go with hybrid Azure AD join, because, sorry, if it's a domain joined device, because what we don't want you is to unjoin that and then go back and do Azure AD join, because we don't have a good story, we don't have a migration path for a hybrid Azure AD join to do a Azure AD join. So if you're in a domain join, if you have a device that's domain join, stick to doing hybrid Azure AD join. But again, please consider Azure AD join first. And if you're in this mixed mode where you have some devices that are domain joined, but you have a refresh cycle coming up for your newer devices, please think about doing Azure AD join. So that's sort of the recommendation or the guidance from Microsoft. And if you have a special case, and a lot of you may, which is you have a critical need, you have a dependency on SCCM, and you want to continue to use it, then again, consider, as I said, the earlier discussion about co-management, do consider moving some of the functions to Azure AD join using MDM. So you can today take a Azure AD or a hybrid Azure AD join device and enroll into Intune and sort of manage some of the functions from the MDM end. So that's sort of something you should keep in mind. As part of next steps, again, get on the latest version of Azure AD Connect. Bring all your devices. I hope you have seen the value, or I hope I've articulated the value of why you should bring your devices, how you should secure your resources, leverage some of the capabilities like conditional access, Defender ATP, and all of the things the secure VMs that we showed, or the Azure AD integrated VMs that we showed. So please bring all your devices. If there are issues, if you run into any blocks, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to help. And please get on the journey to passwordless. I'm sure you must have heard about it from other sessions. It's a very easy, secure, and seamless way for your end users to sign in and still be highly productive. So start with Windows Hello, get into Microsoft Authenticator, and look at FIDO 2 as it becomes more ubiquitous. Leverage conditional access, Defender ATP, as part of your ZTN strategy. And then, if you have any ideas, feedback, suggestions, we have a feedback forum. We are very active. We hear all of that, constantly listening to it, and we'll get back to you with with any responses. So that was pretty much all what I had for today. Again, this one is an important slide. If please evaluate, because we'll take that feedback into consideration for next year and make any improvements that we need to. Thank you.